Now, here's something that I find really interesting. I've been noticing a lot recently on maps from various sources, whether they be physical maps or online. There's a part of Africa that just isn't there. It's erased. And when I say erased, I mean it's either completely blank or it says no data available. Now, this happens on maps showing all sorts of data, not just physical maps. Like, for example, take a look at this map showing global GDP per capita. As you can see, it's missing the same area. Here's another one. Access to electricity in the world. Again, that area is missing. How about population density? It's the same story. That part of Africa, it's not there. So what gives? What is going on here? Hi everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. So, let's start with the basics. Where exactly are we talking about? Well, this is the Atlantic Ocean. This is Morocco, and this is Mauritania. In between them is this rather large disputed territory. Now, while this area is widely recognized as part of Africa, if you zoom in on many physical or digital maps, you'll find that it's often absent, replaced instead by a vast expanse of nothingness. Now, you might be wondering why. After all, this is a part of Africa, right? Why would anyone want to erase it from a map? Well, to understand why this part of Africa is sometimes erased from maps, we need to go back in time a little bit. It all started in 1975 when the Spanish colonial government decided to pull out of this region, officially known as the Spanish Sahara. But before doing so, they convened a meeting in the Spanish capital of Madrid with their regional rival Morocco and also Mauritania, who were both eager to lay their hands on the Spanish Sahara. They met in what became known as the Madrid Accords. In this agreement, Spain ceded the entire territory to Morocco and Mauritania, without even asking the indigenous people living there, the Sahrawi, what they wanted. Now, this wasn't really a big surprise to the Sahrawi people, because the Moroccan government had been trying to take over their land for quite some time now. But still, the fact that their fate was being decided behind their backs, well, that really pissed them off. And with the support of Algeria, they took up arms against both Morocco and Mauritania. The aim was clear: to win self-determination and independence for the Sahrawi people. A guerrilla war raged for years, but eventually Mauritania pulled out of the conflict citing financial difficulties, leaving Morocco alone to fight the Polisario Front, the Sahrawi guerrilla force. The fighting continued for a while, but as the years passed, it became clear that neither side could get the upper hand. Eventually, in 1991, a ceasefire was declared and the UN got involved in an attempt to find a peaceful solution. The UN's plan was to hold a referendum on self-determination in the territory, but the sticking point was who exactly should be allowed to vote. Morocco wanted to include the Western Sahara in its constitution and basically absorb it into the country, while the Polisario Front insisted that only the indigenous Sahrawi people should have the right to decide. Talks broke down, and the stalemate continues to this day. Now, you might be wondering, what does all of this have to do with maps? Well, since 1975, when Morocco first laid claim to the entire Western Sahara, the area has been in a state of limbo, not fully controlled by any nation, yet claimed by Morocco and internationally unrecognized as independent. This lack of clarity about who actually controls the territory is likely the main reason why it's sometimes erased on maps. From a practical standpoint, it makes sense why, especially for things like physical maps. If you're looking at a map that doesn't specify anything about borders, then you might assume that these blank areas are just some sort of mistake. On digital maps, it's a little bit different. Take a look at this one showing global GDP per capita. That area is there, but it's just blank, almost as if it's invisible. But why? I mean, surely there's data on things like GDP per capita for the people living there, right? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that since the territory isn't officially part of any country, any figures usually apply only to the area under Moroccan control, which makes up around 80% of the territory. The other reason is that much of the territory is just, well, desert. There's not a lot going on there in terms of economic activity, but even if that's the case, why erase it completely? Couldn't they just put something like disputed territory or UN-controlled or something? Well, there's a couple of reasons. For one, it's just easier to erase it than to label it as disputed, and also, it kind of suits Morocco just fine. By erasing the territory, they make it seem as if it's not really there, which supports their claim that it's just a part of Morocco. Of course, this is just one side of the story. The other side, the Sahrawi people, are very unhappy with how things turned out. The fact that their land is sometimes erased from maps is just one example of how their struggle for recognition and autonomy continues to this day. In fact, they have their own flag and national anthem. And for the Sahrawi people, the struggle for independence isn't just about winning self-determination. It's also about justice. It's about making sure that their history, culture, and identity are recognized and respected by the international community. Imagine if someone came to your house and told you that you're moving away tomorrow and then moved you without even asking you first. That's what happened to the Sahrawi people. The Madrid Accords were unfair and went against the wishes of the people living in the territory. The fact that it's sometimes erased from maps shows that the world is still dealing with the consequences of colonialism and the struggle for power between nations. I think it's important to highlight that this isn't a forgotten conflict. The fact that the world seems to forget about the Western Sahara sometimes is more a reflection of our own shortcomings than anything else. We live in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information, and it can be easy to tune out certain stories unless they directly affect us. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to stay informed and keep up to date on what's happening in the world. Stories like the Western Sahara may not be top headlines, but they're still important and deserve our attention. So if you think there's something that's missing from the news that you consume, then maybe it's time to start looking elsewhere. Now, I'm definitely guilty of not knowing about this until recently, but that's why I'm making this video. I hope that by sharing this story I can help raise awareness about the Western Sahara and the Sahrawi people's struggle for self-determination. And maybe by learning more about these issues, we can all do a better job of staying informed and engaged with what's happening in the world. And that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. Also, let me know in the comments below. What other interesting things have you noticed on maps or globes? Maybe you found a map error once or you've noticed something strange. Either way, let me know. And finally, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.